Bella Scheibel and Cooper Bunney seemed like typical influencers, but they brutally tortured and murdered 23-year-old Samuel Wilcox. What led to this shocking crime? Let's dive in. If you're into true crime, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more. Bella Louise Rose Scheibel, 21, and Cooper Anthony William Bunney, 23, appeared to be a typical young couple trying to make a name for themselves on social media. Bella, an OnlyFans model, was known for her provocative online presence, posting photos and videos that emphasized her lifestyle and appearance. On platforms like Instagram, she was very open about her use of drugs, even describing herself as a pharmacy/drugstore in her profile. This description was not subtle, and it gave a clear indication of the role drugs played in her life. Her Instagram posts often depicted a glamorous, carefree lifestyle, but behind that image was a much darker reality. Cooper Bunney, on the other hand, was a 23-year-old aspiring rapper. He went by the name Bugs Bunny on social media and often referred to himself as an artist. He posted videos of himself rapping and frequently invited his small following, just over 150 people on Instagram, to check out his music. Despite his enthusiasm for his craft, Bunny's social media engagement was low, and his reach as an artist was minimal. His raps often featured themes that reflected his rebellious lifestyle, including references to drugs and the struggles of life. But like Bella, there was little indication that his online persona would lead to anything more than social media obscurity. The couple's relationship was frequently showcased on social media. They posted numerous photos together, often professing their love for one another publicly. In February 2023, Bella posted a photo with the caption, "No matter what, you'll always be my number one. You make life so much more enjoyable. I love you always, Cooper Bunney, never forget it." Bunney responded to her post with similar affection, writing, "I love you BBBXOXO moi," followed by a heart emoji. Their social media interactions painted a picture of a couple deeply in love, united in their efforts to create a life together. In March 2024, the couple moved into a new rental home in Mount Mee, a quiet rural area about 85 kilometers north of Brisbane. They hadn't lived there long before events took a dark turn. Their new home, nestled in a small, peaceful community, seemed like an odd choice for a couple trying to build an online following. However, it soon became clear that their lives were not as glamorous as they portrayed. Neither Bella nor Cooper had a steady income, and their social media presence, while active, failed to gain the traction they had likely hoped for. Bella's OnlyFans account had few posts, and Cooper's music career seemed stagnant. Despite their public displays of affection and apparent ambitions, there were signs of trouble beneath the surface. Bella's Instagram posts, with references to her drug use and the dark imagery she frequently shared, hinted at a more chaotic and dangerous lifestyle. Her posts often featured her tattoos, most notably a large snake on her right arm, and captions that aligned with her rebellious, self-destructive persona. Cooper, too, appeared to share these darker tendencies, as his music lyrics and social media posts sometimes alluded to struggles and the use of illegal substances. The couple's attempts to build their influencer personas were unsuccessful, but that didn't stop them from maintaining their online presence. They presented themselves as a loving, carefree pair with big dreams of fame and success, but their limited social media followings indicated that they weren't reaching a wide audience. Their posts, while public, attracted little attention, suggesting that their efforts to portray an idealized lifestyle had largely gone unnoticed. For several weeks, the couple continued to live quietly in their rural home, but behind closed doors, their world was spiraling out of control. The drug use hinted at in Bella's social media posts likely played a significant role in shaping the events that would soon unfold. As their online lives failed to take off, it became clear that the couple's real-world behavior was far more dangerous and volatile than their followers could have imagined. What followed was a tragic series of events that exposed the disconnect between the couple's public personas and the grim reality of their lives. Samuel Harry Wilcox was a 23-year-old registered nurse from Queensland, Australia. By all accounts, he was a well-liked and respected young man, both personally and professionally. Friends and colleagues described him as someone with a bright future ahead of him. His friends from Villanova College, where he had attended school, recalled him as a popular and cheerful person who was always up for a laugh. His natural charm and easygoing personality made him well-liked among his peers, and his dedication to his work as a nurse further cemented his reputation as a caring and compassionate individual. As a nurse, Samuel had committed himself to helping others, which was a reflection of his kind and generous nature. He had a good circle of friends who spoke highly of him, mentioning that while he had a cheeky sense of humor, he was also dependable and hard-working. Those who knew him were shocked by his sudden and tragic death, as it seemed so out of character for someone like Samuel to be involved in such a horrific situation. The connection between Samuel Wilcox and the couple, Bella Scheibel and Cooper Bunney, remains unclear, but police believe that drugs may have played a significant role in bringing them together. While Samuel was not known to be involved in criminal activity, it is possible that he came into contact with the couple through drug-related circumstances. Bella's public references to drugs on social media, where she openly flaunted her use of substances, and Cooper's apparent involvement in a similar lifestyle, suggest that they may have been involved in a drug-related underground network in the area. Police have indicated that drug activity is one of the primary lines of inquiry in the investigation, as they continue to try to piece together the circumstances that led Samuel to the Mount Mee property. On April 29, 2024, Samuel Wilcox arrived at the rural Mount Mee property, located about 85 kilometers north of Brisbane, where Bella Scheibel and Cooper Bunney were living. What should have been an ordinary visit turned into a horrifying ordeal that would lead to his death just a few days later. The specific details of why Samuel went to the property are still unclear, but it is widely believed that his arrival may have been related to drugs, given Scheibel and Bunney's suspected involvement in drug-related activity. What is known for certain is that Samuel would never leave the property alive. Shortly after Samuel arrived, tensions flared, and an argument broke out between him and the couple. The exact cause of the argument remains unknown, but whatever triggered it, the situation quickly escalated beyond verbal confrontation. Bella and Cooper, in a sudden and violent turn, restrained Samuel against his will, marking the beginning of a brutal 3-day ordeal. At this point, Samuel was unlawfully detained, and what followed would be a prolonged period of torture and assault. Over the course of 3 days from April 29th to May 1st, Samuel Wilcox endured unimaginable suffering at the hands of Scheibel and Bunney. One of the primary methods they used to subdue and torment him was fencing wire, which they wrapped around his neck repeatedly, attempting to strangle him. The use of fencing wire left Samuel incapacitated, making him unable to resist or escape. Police later revealed that the couple strangled him multiple times over this period, using the wire to render him weak and unable to defend himself. But the physical torture did not stop with strangulation. Bella and Cooper also subjected Samuel to severe psychological torment. During the ordeal, they recorded humiliating videos of him, including footage of his genital region, without his consent. This act of filming was not just an invasion of privacy, but a way to further degrade and control him, adding another layer of cruelty to an already horrific situation. These recordings were part of the couple's twisted plan to exert total dominance over their victim, stripping him of both his dignity and his ability to resist. By May 1st, 2024, the torture escalated to its final fatal stage. After days of abuse, Bella and Cooper decided to end Samuel's life. They brought out a shotgun, a weapon they were unlawfully in possession of, and attempted to kill him. It's important to note that under Australian law, the shotgun was a Category A weapon, and the couple did not have the legal authority to possess it. However, Their first attempt to end Samuel's life with the shotgun was unsuccessful. It's unclear exactly how the attempt failed, but despite the trauma he had already endured, Samuel was still alive after they fired the weapon. Frustrated by their inability to finish the job with the shotgun, the couple made the gruesome decision to bury Samuel alive. They dragged his severely injured body outside and dug a shallow grave in the yard near the property. At this point, Samuel was barely clinging to life, weakened by the repeated strangulation and torture he had suffered over the past 3 days. Bella and Cooper buried him partially, likely believing that he would die soon from his injuries or suffocation. On the night of May 1st, 2024, Bella Scheibel made an unexpected call to emergency services. She reported that a man had been assaulted at the property she shared with her partner, Cooper Bunney, in the rural community of Mount Mee, Queensland. What Bella did not reveal in her call was that she and Cooper were responsible for the horrifying events that had unfolded over the previous days. The call, however, would set in motion an emergency response that ultimately revealed the gruesome truth. When emergency medical technicians, EMTs, arrived at the scene, they were confronted with a chilling discovery. Samuel Wilcox, the 23-year-old victim, was found partially buried in a shallow grave near the couple's property. He was gravely injured, clinging to life after days of unimaginable torture. Samuel's body showed clear signs of severe trauma. His injuries were extensive, with marks indicating he had been strangled repeatedly and he bore the scars of physical abuse. His condition was critical, and it was clear to the first responders that his injuries had been inflicted over an extended period of time. The EMTs acted quickly, doing everything they could to stabilize Samuel. He was pulled from the shallow grave, his breathing faint and his pulse weak. His injuries were so severe that it was evident that he had endured significant physical trauma, likely including attempts at strangulation and other forms of abuse. The decision was made to transport Samuel immediately to Royal Brisbane and Women's Hospital, one of the region's major medical centers. Time was of the essence, and the ambulance rushed him to the hospital in the hope of saving his life. Despite the best efforts of medical staff at the hospital, Samuel Wilcox's injuries were too severe. He fought for his life in the intensive care unit for 2 days, but on May 3, 2024, he succumbed to his injuries. His death was a direct result of the brutal treatment he had suffered at the hands of Bella Scheibel and Cooper Bunney. The physical and psychological abuse he endured over the 3 days he was held captive had caused irreparable damage. His passing marked the tragic end of a young man's life that had once been filled with promise and hope. As Samuel fought for his life in the hospital, law enforcement officers quickly began their investigation at the Mount Mee property. The crime scene was immediately cordoned off, and forensic teams were brought in to examine the area. It was clear from the initial findings that this was not an isolated act of violence, but a prolonged and deliberate case of torture. The shallow grave where Samuel had been found was carefully excavated, and investigators searched for additional evidence that might help piece together the events that led to his death. Police began by questioning Bella Scheibel and Cooper Bunney, who were still at the scene when officers arrived. It became evident to investigators that the couple had been involved in the assault, despite Bella's initial claim of simply reporting the incident. As police pieced together the timeline, it became clear that Bella's call to emergency services had likely been an attempt to cover up the crime after realizing the severity of what they had done. However, the evidence at the scene painted a very different picture from what she had initially suggested in her call. Forensic investigators scoured the property, collecting key pieces of evidence that would later be used to charge the couple. They found the fencing wire that had been used to repeatedly strangle Samuel, as well as other objects that had likely been used in the course of the assault. The shallow grave itself was a significant piece of evidence, as it showed that the couple had attempted to bury Samuel alive. The presence of a shotgun, which the couple had used in their failed attempt to kill Samuel, further solidified the gravity of the crime. As the investigation unfolded, police also began looking into the couple's background and their potential motivations. It quickly became apparent that drugs may have played a significant role in the events that transpired, as both Bella and Cooper were known to have been involved in drug-related activities. This line of inquiry, along with the evidence collected at the crime scene, would form the basis of the charges brought against the couple. Bella and Cooper were arrested at the scene and taken into custody. Both were initially charged with attempted murder, but after Samuel's death in the hospital, the charges were upgraded to murder. They would face additional charges including torture, unlawful possession of weapons, and grievous bodily harm. The police response had been swift, and the evidence gathered during the investigation would later be instrumental in building the case against the couple. In addition to the murder charge, Scheibel and Bunney faced a long list of other serious offenses. These included charges of torture for the extended and deliberate acts of cruelty inflicted on Samuel over several days. The charge of common assault was also added, as Samuel had been physically attacked and restrained during his captivity. The couple was charged with deprivation of liberty, reflecting their unlawful detention of Samuel, who had been held against his will in their home from April 29 to May 1st. Grievous bodily harm was another key charge, as Samuel had suffered severe injuries that led to his death, including multiple strangulations with fencing wire. Further charges related to their possession of illegal weapons. Police had discovered a shotgun at the scene, which the couple had used in their attempt to kill Samuel. The shotgun, classified as a Category A weapon in Australia, was unlawfully owned by the couple. In addition to using the weapon during their assault, the very act of possessing the shotgun without proper authorization led to the charge of unlawful possession of weapons. Beyond these charges, Bella Scheibel faced an additional separate charge for her behavior during her arrest. When police arrived at the property and took her into custody, she did not go quietly. According to reports, Scheibel resisted arrest, showing visible surprise and disbelief that she was being taken into custody, despite having been the one to call emergency services. This resistance quickly turned violent. Scheibel became aggressive, biting one of the officers as they tried to restrain her. She also spat on another officer during the arrest, actions that led to a charge of serious assault of a police officer. Cooper Bunney, while less physically aggressive during his arrest, was also visibly surprised by the police action. He too seemed to express shock at being arrested, despite the overwhelming evidence linking him to the crime. Nevertheless, both were restrained and taken into custody without further incident, though their resistance was duly noted in police reports. Their disbelief at being arrested suggested that neither of them fully understood the severity of their actions, or the fact that their attempt to report the crime as an assault would not absolve them of guilt. The charges against Scheibel and Bunney were extensive and covered a range of criminal acts, each of which carried severe penalties. The charge of murder, being the most serious, would naturally be the focal point of any upcoming legal proceedings. However, the additional charges of torture, grievous bodily harm, and unlawful possession of weapons were equally significant, as they painted a picture of a crime that was not only violent but also premeditated and sustained over several days. Forensic experts combed the property, beginning with the interior of the home where much of the assault on Samuel Wilcox had taken place. They were looking for specific items that had been used to detain and torture the victim. One of the most critical pieces of evidence was the fencing wire, which Bella and Cooper had used to repeatedly strangle Samuel, leaving him incapacitated. The wire found inside the house was carefully collected and preserved as a key piece of evidence in the case. Its role in the crime was undeniable, as Samuel's injuries were consistent with strangulation, and the wire had left marks that indicated prolonged use. Another important item was the shotgun that the couple had used in their attempt to kill Samuel. Police found the weapon inside the house, unlawfully possessed by the couple, and it was immediately secured by the forensic team. This shotgun was not only evidence of their attempt to end Samuel's life, but also connected to the unlawful possession charges the couple faced. Ballistic tests would later confirm that this was the weapon involved in the crime, and its presence at the scene further implicated Bella and Cooper in Samuel's murder. In addition to these critical items, investigators searched the property for other potential evidence that could shed light on the extent of the torture Samuel had endured. They examined various household objects for signs of physical damage or traces of Samuel's DNA, looking for anything that might have been used to inflict injuries on him during the 3-day ordeal. Bloodstains and other forensic materials were gathered from different parts of the house, providing a clearer picture of the violence that had taken place there. Beyond the immediate surroundings of the house, police also focused on the outdoor area. The shallow grave where Samuel had been found partially buried was a key piece of evidence. Forensic teams carefully examined the soil, taking samples to understand the timeline of events and the conditions in which Samuel had been left. The grave itself, though hastily dug, indicated the couple's intention to dispose of Samuel's body and cover up their crime. The forensic evidence from this area would later confirm that Samuel had been buried while still alive, adding another layer of cruelty to the case. The investigation extended beyond the property as well. A nearby water source, a dam located not far from the house, became a point of interest. Investigators suspected that Bella and Cooper might have discarded additional evidence related to the crime, such as objects used during the assault or items that could further link them to Samuel's torture. To aid in this search, a police dive squad was brought in to thoroughly examine the dam and any surrounding bodies of water. While it is unclear whether the dive squad recovered any significant items, their efforts were a crucial part of ensuring that no evidence was overlooked. Throughout the investigation, police remained focused on uncovering the potential motives behind the crime. One of the leading theories, as confirmed by Detective Inspector Joe Zitney, was the involvement of drugs. Both Bella and Cooper had a history of drug use, with Bella openly referencing her drug habits on social media. Investigators believe that drugs may have played a significant role in both the lead-up to the crime and the violence that followed. Whether it was drug-related paranoia, a dispute over money, or the influence of substances during the crime itself, this line of inquiry remained central to the police investigation. Detective Inspector Zitney also confirmed that all three parties, Samuel, Bella, and Cooper, were known to police prior to the incident. This revelation suggested that there may have been a prior connection between the victim and his killers, possibly linked to the local drug scene. As investigators continued to piece together the events leading up to Samuel's arrival at the Mount Mee property, they worked under the assumption that drugs were a contributing factor in the escalation of violence. Following their arrest in May 2024, both Bella Scheibel and Cooper Bunney were immediately taken into police custody. Given the seriousness of the charges, murder, torture, unlawful detention, and other violent offenses, neither suspect was granted bail at the time of their initial hearings. Their first court appearances occurred in the weeks following their arrests, and from the beginning, it was clear that the legal proceedings would be complex and lengthy. During their initial court appearances, both Scheibel and Bunney were formally charged with the murder of Samuel Wilcox, as well as additional charges that included torture, common assault, deprivation of liberty, grievous bodily harm, and unlawful possession of weapons. The nature of these charges, particularly the murder and torture allegations, meant that the defendants were unlikely to receive any leniency during the legal process. In early July 2024, Scheibel appeared in court via video link for her bail hearing. Her legal team argued for her release on bail, likely citing various personal factors and potential procedural issues in the case. However, due to the severity of the charges and the risk she posed to public safety, her bail request was denied. The judge presiding over the case referenced the extreme violence of the crime, the risk of flight, and the fact that Scheibel had previously resisted arrest and assaulted police officers during her apprehension. The court's decision to deny bail was not unexpected, given the gravity of the accusations against her. Cooper Bunney did not apply for bail at the same time, opting to remain in custody as the legal process continued to unfold. Both defendants remain in custody as of July 2024, awaiting further legal proceedings. The denial of Scheibel's bail and Bunney's decision to remain in custody indicate the prosecution's strong stance against releasing the defendants before trial, highlighting the serious risks associated with such a decision. Thanks for watching. If you found this video informative, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more true crime stories. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss an update. See you in the next one.